Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Tales from Retails. In this episode, you'll hear how an employee takes a whole store hostage on their first day of work, a dumb thief who steals an empty ring box from a jewelry store, and what happens when a confronted thief gets mad. I hope you stay for the stories today because they're absolutely outrageous, and subscribe for future videos. This one's titled, That Time I Accidentally Took a Whole Convenience Store Hostage. This is the most exciting Tales from Retail story I've got. This was back in, I want to say 2005, before smartphones, etc. It's about the time I worked at a gas station convenience store for one whole day and ended up as a manager and a district manager's worst nightmare. I'd taken the job not 2 days before and was told to show up at 7 a.m. on Monday for training. No big deal, right? The manager certainly seemed stable enough at the time, but I suppose that's what they say about all the crazies. So I show up at 7 a.m., bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to get to work. I'm immediately introduced to a young lady who's been tasked with training me by the manager. The manager spends the first 20 minutes of my shift not training me, but ranting and rambling about how she just worked a double graveyard, and how she's bushed, and how this place just sucks her dry. You get the idea. Great way to start off a new job. She then reiterates that young lady's gonna be with me all day, training me step by step, and is gone in a puff of smoke, gone home to get some much-deserved sleep. She leaves behind her home number on a scrap paper behind the counter, in case of emergencies only. Sensible enough. So we get down to business. Young lady's shocked that I'm somewhat register and computer literate, so she takes the opportunity to abandon me in the back room, doing a few hours of computer training that I gather is supposed to encompass the entirety of my day. When I finish my computer training, I step out into the main store area to be relieved of duty. Instead, young lady informs me that we're now gonna do some hands-on training. Weird, but fine, I guess. I mean, I'm not gonna scoff at a few extra hours on my paycheck, so whatever. Let's do some hands-on work. The hands-on work goes for about an hour and a half, bringing my day to about 4.5 hours at this point, until young lady pulls me aside and announces with a beaming grin on her face, "You know what? I think I've had enough of this place." I said, you've had enough of this place? She replied, "Yeah, man, I hate this job. I hate the managers, my coworkers, everything. I quit." I then said, like in 2 weeks? She says, like now. I quit now. With that, she tears off her smock, lights a cigarette in the store, and walks out of the joint, leaving me to mind the store alone. I don't know how to do cash drops. I don't know how to do most of this stuff. I've been here for 4 hours tops, and you've gotta be kidding me. Then she does the unspeakable. Young lady locks the door to the back room, shoves the key underneath the door, and is gone. Forever. So like the young nice man I am, I call the manager's emergency number. The phone rings and rings and rings for maybe 2 minutes straight before she finally answers, mid-snore, with a befuddled, I promptly explain the situation to her, and I tell her that I need help. She tells me to hold tight, and that she's gonna call the assistant manager to come help. You know where this is going. The assistant manager never comes. I'm waiting for another 2 hours, and the assistant manager never shows up. I call the manager back. Same deal. 2 minutes of continuous ringing, and she promises something else, and then hangs up on me. We go through this process 4 more times over the course of 2 hours, when the next person on shift is due to show up anyway, and he never shows. So I call the manager again until she finally just takes her phone off the hook, so I can't call her anymore. Great. This is the part of the story where I start to freak out. I have no other numbers. I know no one else who works here. I'm alone. There's no way to clock out, no way to hide, no way to lock the doors, nothing. Just work. Only work. Forever and ever and ever and ever. I can see this is how I'm gonna die, I'm sure of it. I'm in a really boring version of Final Destination. At this point, I feel the need to call out the dudes who ran the tattoo shop across the street. They'd been coming in for cokes and drinks and such throughout the day, and had taken a keen interest in my well-being. They were pretty up on the situation and kept me reasonably calm throughout the day. They noticed that I was starting to freak out and asked me what the situation was. I explained. Just like that, these badasses jump into action. They bring me their phone book with all the numbers of the other stores in the area circled, and they go to the local taco cart to get me a plate of tacos and coke to keep my strength up. I'm not into dudes, but I considered asking these guys to marry me right then and there. Fueled by tacos and sheer panic, I start making calls. Other stores are shocked by what's happened, but don't have anyone to spare to help me out. They've got no one. But one of them gives me the district manager's home number. Bingo. I explained the situation to him and listened as he went from perfectly congeal to absolutely terrified. He tells me, "I'm coming down there to personally relieve you from your shift." But then he says the perfect combination of words to set me off. "But I'm gonna need about 2 hours. Is that okay?" Welcome to my breaking point. I begin to shout, and shout, and shout. I said, "No, that's not all right. I'll tell you what, district manager. Either you get down here in half an hour, or I'm gonna open the cash registers, the safe, turn on the gas pumps on unlimited run, and go home. Is that what you want? Free gas and free money for everyone who comes into the store until there's no more money, until the store's sucked dry. Is that what you want?" And he says, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I now see what's happened. I've officially been taken hostage by the store, and I've taken it hostage in return. I'm now the crazy person in the situation. I'm the movie bad guy. I'm the one making demands." But you know what? He got there in 15 minutes flat. And you know what? He was nice, all said and told. He apologized, unlocked the backroom door, and let me clock out. It's 10:30 p.m. A reminder that I started at 7 a.m. Finally. But then, the manager in her pajamas, eyes bloodshot and wild, murderous and back from the dead like the last guy in Die Hard, comes storming into the store, screaming at the district manager, who had apparently gotten her to answer her phone during his trip over. She says, "District manager, how dare you tell me how to run my store? I swear, you've been telling me what to do for too long now, and I'm telling you this for the last time." District manager turns to me as the manager's shrieking, and he says something that makes me start laughing like a psychotic. He says, "Go home, OP. I've got this." You don't have to tell me twice, amigo. I'm gone. When I get to the door, finally, he calls after me and says, "I hope this doesn't affect your future with the company." And I never went back. I'd be terrified if I was in OP's shoes. If I was a brand new employee, know nothing about how to run the store, managers leaving me high and dry, that does not sound like a great place to work at. I wonder if it's a 7-Eleven. This next story is titled, "Woman Steals Empty Ring Box, Comes Back Demanding the Ring." After rushing to work after my last post, another interesting incident arose. For those of you that didn't read my last post, I work in a jewelry store, and we're usually blessed with great clients. Lately, the crazies have been showing up. It's important to note that I'm the only one on the sales floor at the moment because I'm working with one other person, and she's chilling in the back because the mall was dead. So I get to work and start doing the usual, fixing some displays, cleaning the glass, etc., when as usual, I gravitate towards the ring section. Rings are my favorite piece of jewelry, so I always end up by the display because it's become my baby. I notice there's an empty ring holder, so I go to the ring drawer, which is across the store from the ring display, and choose an adequate replacement. I unlock the display, place the ring on the ring holder, and securely lock the display. I leave the empty ring box on top of the display and head behind the registers to get an elastic band to put around the box. An elastic band on the box means that the box is empty and the item is on display. I head back towards the ring box, but as I'm halfway there, this lady runs into the store from one of the tables outside, grabs the box, and runs away. It's not the worst issue since there was nothing of value inside, and I got a clear look at her unique face, but it'll be inconvenient when we go sell the ring. I tell my coworker, who texts the manager, but all seems to be going well, until 2 hours later when the box thief returns. She says, "Excuse me, I bought a ring here and the box is empty." I know she's BSing me, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, may I see the box?" She hands over the box and says, "I really expected better service from a company like this." I see that it's the same box for the ring that I displayed, and I said, "I'm sorry ma'am, when did this happen?" She tells me yesterday afternoon, and I ask, "Do you have the receipt?" And she goes, "No, I threw it away immediately after I bought it." I then said, "That's alright, your name should be in the system, and I can find the purchase that way. My coworker will need to override the system to let me do the search. Just give me a second." That's a lie. I got my coworker and told her to call security. I then tell her, "Alright ma'am, it turns out I don't need an override. May I have your last name?" The lady gets a very nervous look on her face, and she says, "This is really unnecessary, you're treating me like a criminal." I spend the next 5 minutes wasting time and acting like I don't know how to do my job, and then security arrives, and she says, "What's going on?" And then I told her, "I wasn't born yesterday, ma'am. Not my first rodeo." Okay, she steals a ring box from a jewelry store that almost definitely has cameras, and then comes back 2 hours later, saying she was sold a ring that wasn't in the box, then has the audacity to say that OP was treating her like a criminal when they asked for her information to pull up the receipt. This last story is titled, "Attempted Stealing Turned Assault Charge." Background: I work at a service station, usually doing a pretty wide range of shift times. The store isn't located in a bad area, but we still get more than our fair share of customers who might need reminding that they actually have to pay for things before attempting to leave. We are told by managers that we should remind them of such, but if they get confrontational or insist on leaving, we're simply to call the cops immediately, pull up the CCTV footage, and put that person on the banned from store list. So one fine rainy afternoon, I'm the only one out front. My coworker's in the back rearranging fridges and other stock. We're mostly quiet, so I'm doing some paperwork behind the till when in comes Crazy Lady. She looked pretty shifty, so of course, I'm keeping a discreet eye on her as she meanders through the aisles. I watch Crazy Lady shove a whole range of items into her jumper before she comes up to the till. The only thing she places down to pay for is an ice cream, and she asked for smokes. As is procedure, I go through with a transaction and wait till Crazy Lady turns to leave the store, making her intention to steal become clear. "Excuse me ma'am, you either need to return the items you've stashed in your jumper, or you need to pay for them." Crazy Lady immediately starts yelling and says, "What items? I've not got any." "Ma'am, this store is under video surveillance. I witnessed you place items in your jumper. If you won't return or pay for them, I'll have to call the police." At this point, Crazy Lady starts hurling abuse, cussing, and generally being an upstanding citizen. She proceeds to open up her jacket, releasing everything that she's taken, and let it fall onto the floor, and makes a point of stomping on the items like a 3-year-old. Me, eager to de-escalate considering how she's responded so far, said, "Thank you, ma'am. Please feel free to go." This sets her off even worse. She throws the ice cream she just bought at me, although it's still in the wrapper. While I'm standing there, trying to process the fact that I've just been hit in the chest by a frozen dessert, Crazy Lady's going to the shelf filled with 2-liter bottles of soft drink that's set up next to the door, and she begins to hurl them at me. Luckily, I'm able to duck into a nearby aisle, kind of panicking at this point because me, being a small female against a clearly deranged customer, are not great odds. That and if I decide to defend myself via violence, I would no doubt be fired. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, I hear the bell above the door go off, a loud slapping noise, and Crazy Lady starts screeching. Thankfully, it's the police. 2 officers are pinning this woman to the ground and handcuffing her, Despite Crazy Lady's best impression of a fish out of water banshee hybrid, my coworker had apparently heard the commotion and called the police. And luck was on our side that a patrol car was only a street over. With Crazy Lady struggling the entire way, they managed to cuff her and get her into the car. To finish off a lengthy story, when asked, I did agree to have charges pressed, because honestly, if someone's gonna go that psychotic with that little provocation, they probably either need help or just straight up not be on the street. That's a pretty terrifying situation that OP was in. Having to deal with items being flung at you on your shift is probably not the best thing you want. But I'm glad she came out of it okay and that the cops were right around the corner. Instant justice. And now, she's got a wicked story to tell. And that's it for today's episode of r/Tales from Retail, my friends. If you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I upload videos almost every day. See you guys in the next one.